Chapter 188. Passing 4 levels in a row. Roar, roar, roar. Right at this moment, a terrifying roar came from the sky. Kang Chon couldn't help but turn his head to look. His eyes instantly narrowed, and the long black blade in his hand violently appeared, gulping out a blazing blade aura. Behind the distant sand dunes, 10 huge demonic beasts rushed to kill. The demonic beasts all looked the same as the one seen in the first level before, and all of them were at the peak level of the 9th level of the Jidan stage. 10 peak 9th level Jidan stage demonic beasts. This was the test of the 2nd level. Kang Chon's eyes flashed with a cold light, and with his backhand, he slashed out dozens of brilliant blade onings. His figure was like electricity. Not waiting for the 10 demonic beasts to charge and kill, he took the lead to kill them. And every blade that went down would surely seriously injure one of the demonic beasts. Half an hour later, Kang Chon resolved these 10 powerful demonic beasts one by one, and then Kang Chon was still transported to the central space. 10 peak level demonic beasts at the 9th level of the Jidan stage. The difficulty of this 2nd level, 10 times stronger than the first. Being within the center space, a wise light appeared in Kang Chon's eyes. He seemed to have somewhat figured out the test within this demon locking tower. The difficulty of the 2nd level was 10 times that of the first. So the 3rd level wouldn't be the appearance of 100 peak level demonic beasts at the 9th level of the nodal stage, would it? Holding such speculations, Kang Chon entered the 3rd level of space. As expected, in this layer of space, he met 100 peak level 9th level Jidan stage demonic beasts. Unlike the 10 demonic beasts, the 100 demonic beasts roared in unison. The kind of sound that shook the heavens and moved the earth. Even Kang Chon was startled, and in the end, he was surrounded by the 100 demonic beasts joining hands, and fell into a bitter battle. For a time, the entire desert was filled with surging energy fluctuations, as well as dazzling and piercing blade onings shattering the void. This fierce battle lasted for a day, before Kang Chon finally resolved these 100 powerful, demonic beasts, and dragging his slightly exhausted body, he was teleported into the central space. In the center space, Kang Chon was recovering his depleted true essence. Although the 100 demonic beasts that he had just met in the 3rd level had been killed by him, they had also consumed quite a lot of his true essence, and he had to replenish it here. Or else it would be impossible for him to break through the 4th level of space later on. According to his previous guess, in the 4th level of the demon locking tower, Kang Chon would need to face 1,000 peak level demonic beasts at the 9th level of the Jidan stage, which was definitely a tough challenge. 1,000 peak level 9 Jidan stage demonic beasts joining hands. Even Yuanian stage powerhouses would retreat. It would be impossible for Kang Chon to break through without taking out his real skills. In fact, at this moment, many young talents stopped at the 4th level of space, and they were unwillingly teleported out of the demon locking tower one by one. Of course, they had become outstanding disciples of the Heavenly Dao sect at the same time. They just hadn't been accepted as disciples by the elders of the Heavenly Dao sect. Obviously, the 4th level of space was a watershed, and currently, only a slim number of people had broken through this level, of which the names of Daoyi, Wuxia, Easy, and Zhao Wuji were clearly among them. There was also a familiar name, and that was Li Chonjiao. When Kang Chon returned to the central space, on the huge stone monument in front of the demon locking tower, Kang Chon's name had jumped from the 1st tier area to the 3rd tier of the bureau area, and was already ahead of quite a few people. Almost every one of the young jungles who were able to come to the demon locking tower. Before the 100th person had broken through the 1st and 2nd layers, with some stopping on the 3rd layer, and even more stopping at the 4th layer of space. For the average young jungler, facing 100 peak demonic beasts at the 9th level of the Jidan stage was already very tough. As for 1,000, it would be even more unimaginable. Many people had broken through the 3rd layer of space with great difficulty, But before entering the fourth layer of space for a few moments, they were automatically transported out of the demon locking tower. Of course, there are also some people who know the difficulty of the fourth layer, so like Kangchon, after breaking through the third layer, they stayed in the center of the space to recuperate. Anyway, there are 3 months of time to prepare. There is no rush to enter the fourth layer of space. This was the case for Kangchon. He used 3 days to recover all his true essence. Then he continued to cultivate within the central space. His current cultivation was at the early 9th layer of the Jidan stage. He could continue to raise his cultivation. Unlike those young jungles, many of whom had already reached the peak of the 9th layer of the Jidan stage and were no longer able to increase their cultivation. From entering the demon locking tower to breaking through the 3 levels, Kangchon had used up 5 months of time. During this period of time, a young genius continued to arrive from all over, and the number of people who had entered the demon locking tower had reached 90, not far from the day when it would be closed. Within the central space, Kangchon once again passed through a month's time, and at this moment, outside the demon locking tower, came a group of figures that Kangchon was familiar with. Wow, is this the demon locking tower? It's really spectacular. Zhao Linga carried a black coffin board, blinking her two big eyes as she stared at the black pagoda in front of her. Beside her, the 5 people, Lei Yun, Jin San Xiao, Wang Yong, Liu Suifeng, and Wang Shan, were looking at the huge stone monument in front of the demon locking pagoda with astonishment. They saw Kangchon's name, the 3rd level area of the stone tablet. Quickly look, Kangchon has already entered the 3rd layer. Liu Suifeng droned as he was the first to spot Kangchon's name. When the crowd heard this, they couldn't help but follow his gaze and saw that the words Kangchon were flashing in the 3rd layer area. Heavens! This guy Zhao Wuji has actually entered the 4th layer. Jin San Xiao suddenly spotted Zhao Wuji's name and instantly exclaimed in shock. Among all the young geniuses who had entered the demon locking tower, Zhao Wuji was at the very front along with Dao Yi, Wushwang, Easy, Li Chonjiao, and the others. Too powerful. I've heard of Dao Yi, Wushwang, and Easy's names for a long time. They are the top 3 powerhouses on the subterranean dragon ranking. It's still justifiable for them to occupy the front. I didn't expect Zhao Wuji to progress so quickly as well. It's really surprising, Lei Yun said with a face of admiration. This Li Chongjia seems like I've heard of him somewhere. Zhao Linga heard the crowd talking about her big brother and Zhao Wuji and immediately came over to look at the stone tablet. But it made her see Li Chongjia next to Zhao Wuji's name, and she couldn't help but make a puzzled sound. Jin San Xiao frowned at his words and said, Li Chongjia, could it be him? It can't be. How could that kid have such a strong cultivation? He thought of the genius of the Li clan who came from the same place as Kangchon, that sub-clan genius Li Chongjia who had been taken back by the Li clan, and he had even seen Li Chongjia Heavy Iron City back then. Although Li Chongjia's talent was good at that time, it was absolutely impossible for him to grow to such a point so quickly. Could two perverts of Kangchon's kind still appear at once? Third Fatty. You know this person, surnamed Li. Could it be someone from the Li family? I haven't heard of the Li family having such a genius. Lei Yun sniffed in doubt. Jin San Xiao pondered for a moment and said, the Li family does have a Li Chongjiao, and it's still from the same place as Kangchon. It's just that, although that person's talent is not bad either, he definitely wouldn't be able to reach such a level in such a short period of time. It must be a rename. That's right, the cultivation world is so big, there are few renames. This is perhaps a coincidence. If the Li family has such a genius, where else would it be Li Yuanba's turn to be proud and arrogant? Lei Yun nodded and said, the crowd obviously didn't think that the Li family would have such a genius, because it was too unconventional. If the Li family really had such a genius, Where would it still be hidden like this? It would have already been brought out to show off. Forget it. We're already way behind them. It's better to hurry up and go in. Jin San Shao shook his head, no longer thinking much. After a brief discussion, the few people entered the demon locking tower together, being transported to a different central space by each of them to begin the test of the demon locking tower. After they entered, the number of people within the demon locking tower reached 95. And so for another 2 months' time, 5 people went in one after another within the demon locking tower, causing the number of people within the demon locking tower to finally reach 100. Rumble. After the 100th person went in, the gate of the demon locking tower slowly landed. Wait for me. A green aura came from not far away ********. It was a grey-clothed youth, his face full of unwillingness as he looked at the gate of the demon locking tower slowly closing, roaring loudly. Only one step away. This young handsome man is very unwilling. Only one step short of him can enter the demon locking tower. But unfortunately, this step makes him and the demon locking tower have no chance. Soon after, several more young jungles arrived in a panic, and when they saw the already closed demon locking tower, they were all despondent for a while. As the door to the demon locking tower closed, Kang Chon, who was cultivating in the center space, also awoke. He opened a pair of purple eyes. A stern light flashed in his eyes, and a powerful aura emanated out. Middle of the 9th level of the Jiden stage. The aura in this demon locking tower is really thick. 3 months of cultivation has raised my cultivation so much. If I can cultivate here for a year, I'm afraid that I will be able to directly step into the Yuanying stage. Kang Chon probed his current cultivation realm and couldn't help but look joyful. In just 3 months, he had advanced from the early 9th level of the Jiden stage to the middle 9th level of the Jiden stage. This kind of cultivation speed was already very fast. If it were to be in the former Great Tang country, it would be almost impossible to do so. It's time to prepare for the 4th layer's test. 1,000 demonic beasts. I should be able to deal with them. It just won't be that easy. Looking at the door leading to the 4th layer of space, Kang Chon revealed a confident smile as his figure transformed into a ray of light and disappeared into the central space. At the same time, in the 4th layer of space, on the still endless desert, Kang Chon's figure suddenly appeared. Boom boom boom. As soon as he entered the 4th layer of space, Kang Chon felt the earth shaking. And immediately, a mighty black armored scorpion demonic beast swept in, like a sea of black water, drowning Kang Chon in it. 1,000 demonic beasts rushed in unison, their powerful auras shaking the heavens and the earth beneath their feet trembling violently. The sound of roaring was deafening, and there was also the sound of a head of demonic beasts roaring. Kill. Without any unnecessary nonsense, seeing this scene, Kang Chon raised his long black blade and killed in. He slashed out dozens of slashes in a row, killing several demonic beasts, while heavily wounding dozens of demonic beasts. The battle was very intense. Roar, roar, roar. A dozen of demonic beasts leapt up high, their behemoth-like bodies pouncing at Kang Chon. Terrifying energies sweeping through the entire space, their bloodthirsty eyes filled with berserk killing intent. Kang Chon sensed a great aura of danger. His figure retreated violently. Using his skinny and flexible body, he swam in the middle of the field. Every time after decapitating a demonic beast, he would immediately dodge away, preventing the other demonic beasts from combining their attacks. Of course, even so, it was impossible for Kang Chon to dodge all the demonic beasts, and after a long time, he still suffered quite a few attacks from the demonic beasts, appearing to be in a very sorry state. This battle lasted for a half a month in a row. Kang Chon finally killed the last demonic beast, and he dragged his very tired body and was teleported into the central space. Whew, it's still really wretched. I'm afraid the next level will be even tougher. As soon as he entered the central space, Kang Chon breathed a sigh of relief as he took off his purple robe that was covered in blood. and took out a clean piece of clothing from his storage ring to change into. This storage ring was still the spatial ring that he had seized when he had killed Yan Yun. And Kang Tian had used this storage ring in the case of concealing the reverse heavenly cauldron.